All right, we are live on YouTube, and tonight we are going to be discussing social media relationships versus real life relationships. So stick around and find out exactly what I'm talking about. All of that and much, much more is coming right. Live from Northern California, welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli. And if this is your first time here, and most importantly, you are open to suggestions and change, please consider subscribing and then banging that bell. And after you bang that bell, when that pop-up box pops up, make sure you select all notifications, because that way you won't miss a single thing. You will not miss anything when it comes to getting a better grip on your life. And also make sure on your smartphone, your tablet, your iPhone, your Android, or anywhere that you have the YouTube app installed on, you must also make sure that the YouTube app is set to receive those notifications at a device level. You do all of that, and you're all set to go. You're all set to go. Mutt Nuts World's in the house already, and she says, cool background. Check this out, Mutt. Look at the finger. Look where the finger is pressing. Do you know what that button is? Now, Mutt, if you look over here at the top left, see the top left right there, Mutt? You see, that's where we're at right now. But what is this symbol also about? Isn't it quite similar? Press play, right? Just press play and start recording, and you might be the next famous videographer, right? Or, talk show host, or, like they call it out here, YouTuber, right? Right. All right. Well, before we get started here today, let me just check to make sure that everything is rolling smoothly. It looks like the notification has gone out. And let me check the back end to see how the stream status is looking. Stream health is looking excellent. It says excellent. That's great. Thank you, YouTube. And we've got 9 people in the box to start things off. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So, yeah, Mutt Nuts World says YouTube play button. All right. Tonight I'm going to get right to it, folks, because I have another great blog to dissect and critique and do some commentary on regarding this very, very important topic to me that I feel has just changed the way that we socialize nowadays and we communicate with people. The topic of tonight's stream is, has YouTube become a replacement for real relationships? Debunking social media friends versus reality. This could also mean dating relationships. People are having virtual dating relationships nowadays. We'll get to that in a bit. One more time, has YouTube become a replacement for real relationships? Question mark. Debunking social media friends versus reality. Well, let me start off this stream before I get to the blog and just share my experiences of using the internet over the last 20 to 30 years. The internet's been out probably for around 30 years now. And if you can remember 30 years back, if you've been alive, since that time, I know some of you millennials or Gen Xers were either not born or very young during that time. But if you remember 20 to 30 years ago, we were all on what was called dial-up internet back then. And we had sites such as Prodigy. One of the first online sites that I joined was Prodigy. And it was pretty cool because I used to do fantasy sports back then, fantasy leagues. And what would happen is we would have to wait until the very next morning to look at the box scores in the newspaper to get the stats, to do our stats. But once I got Prodigy, I was the very first person amongst my friends, my group of friends, to get a computer and to, get on the Prodigy. I was able to get the live box scores as the games were happening. It was like instantaneous information. And as you can imagine, once all my friends found out about this, they would call me every night to give them information on their box scores for their fantasy players before the newspaper came out the next day. So it was quite interesting. Hang on one second. I've got kind of a dry throat today, folks. The weather's a little bit dry and a little bit humid. So don't mind me if I have to mute every now and then to clear my throat. So anyway. So yeah, I was the one that got a computer first and got online first. I remember, I believe I had a 2400 baud modem. And then they came out with the 9600 baud modem. Then the 14.4 modem. And then the 56K modem. And when 56K came out, we all felt like we were just blazing on the internet, right? Well, that was the fastest possible dial-up speeds ever created. And after 56K, that's when cable and DSL came out and was starting to give us much faster speeds for the downstream and the upstream of our internet connections. But I also remember after Prodigy, I actually left Prodigy after a while because Prodigy started to suck. And AOL was becoming really big. And the great thing about AOL was, and look at Nuts World, the chat says, I was on AOL chat and Yahoo LOL. That dates me old. Me too. I was just going to mention that. I should bring on the panel to discuss this, Mutt, but I'm not going to bring anyone on tonight. Down the road, we should do a panel show and share our experiences of how the internet has evolved, how it's evolved, over the last 20 to 30 years. But AOL was great because AOL had instant messenger. And it was one of the first platforms to introduce instant messaging. And AOL had a very large community. Everybody who was anyone at that point that was on the internet was on AOL. And it was interesting because it was a cool way to meet people. It was a cool way to even meet other women in your area. You could do a search for other users by their location and stuff like that. And I actually met some really cool people from AOL back in those days. So it was really cool. It was really fun. And it was a change in the ways that we used to communicate and meet with people. Now, don't get me wrong. I've always been a very social and outgoing person, but I'm like, okay, what if I were to just use this online world to meet some cool people and then meet them in person? And if we click, we hang out. If it's a woman and we start dating, okay, that's great. If I meet a group of friends, so be it. That's great. And then another interesting thing happened. Back in those days when AOL was just starting to boom, after it had been around for a few years, I started seeing people share digital images, pictures digitally over AOL. And I was like, how do you do that? Well, we have a scanner. And we just scan in these pictures. And back in those days, scanners were pretty expensive. And this was right before digital cameras came out, right? So I was like, okay, Jesus, I'm going to go buy myself a scanner. I went and I spent $350 to buy a scanner. And I started scanning pictures of me so I could trade pictures with, other women I was talking to or whoever I was talking with online. And it was pretty cool. And then shortly after that, digital cameras came out, and that changed everything because now people could take pictures of them wherever they were at and put them online on AOL. They could share them, etc., yada, yada, yada. Buttnuts World says, I remember when you logged on, it would say, you've got mail. That exactly in that tone, right? You've got mail. You've got mail. You've got mail. Yeah, I remember that. They even did a movie on that mutt called You've Got Mail. Yeah, AOL was definitely a huge part in the internet evolving into what it is today. Now, back in those days, there really wasn't a whole lot of trolling. I mean, there were some fake accounts. There were people that would reach out to you, try to instant message you, try to get you to think that they're this hot chick. And then they would say, well, I'm stuck in Nigeria and, I really want to be with you, but, I need $3,000 to be able to come and see you and pay this debt and this and that. Remember those scams back then? They still happen today, but they were so new back then that more and more people actually became victims of those scams during that time. And because I was an early adopter of the internet, and I knew I picked up that those people weren't real, and I realized they were scams, I've never once been ever scammed on the internet. And that's why nowadays when I'm dealing with trolls and haters and people like that, my intuition lets me know if they're legitimate or not. My first scanner cost me $499. Yep. Well, I bought mine at Costco, so I got it for $350. I saved a little bit of money. But yeah, remember back in those days, everything was much more expensive, but it was cutting edge technology back then, remember, right? It was incredible. It was absolutely amazing. Let me see real quick here. Give me a second. Okay. But there wasn't really a whole lot of trolling back then because sites like AOL were very good at removing harassing things and removing people from the platform. And there wasn't really a whole lot of trolling. The trolling really didn't start happening on the internet. And, these online relationships, whether they are for dating purposes or friendship, didn't really start becoming mainstream until social media came out many years later. And social media, I guess you can say MySpace was a part of social media. MySpace, if I remember correctly, was around in the mid to late 90s. And, it started, I think it was still around during the early 2000s. But then after that, in the early 2000s, that's when Facebook was launched. That's when, Facebook was launched, and so was Twitter shortly after that during those days. And then, YouTube was launched. And once these social media platforms were launched, that just changed everything regarding the way we communicate, regarding the way we meet people. And it also started to change one thing that I feel many people are struggling with nowadays, especially the millennials, the Gen Y millennials and the Gen Z post-millennials, the I generation. We started to more so have online relationships, online friendships, and online romantic relationships, meaning that instead of meeting people in person and going on dates like, most normal people would do, during my era, people now are more so having online relationships. They're texting back and forth, or they're doing something that's called sexting as well. They're, saying provocative things to each other through texting or instant messaging programs. Some go as far as trading provocative pictures and provocative videos in lieu of actually just saying, hey, you seem pretty cool. Would you like to meet in person? And let's just see where things go, right? But also at the same time, a lot of these people that, are meeting online and doing this are people that don't live nearby each other. They either live many states apart if they're both from the States here in the U.S., or they live a country apart, and it's just, to me, honestly, it's just really sad. It's really sad, what's happened regarding communication and relationships, and how people do this nowadays. Again, the title of the stream is, has YouTube become a replacement for real relationships? Do I feel it has become a replacement for real relationships? For many people, it has. And I'm not going to really get into any examples of, people that I've seen that are having these type of online relationships here on YouTube. But just know it does happen. And I'm sure you've seen other people, or other people that are involved in these types of relationships. Nuts World says, yep, got mine at Radio Shack. Oh my God, miss MySpace. Yeah, MySpace was pretty cool. So, anyway. So, honestly, folks, the world has changed. Like I said, I'm from Generation X. And since the days the millennials came around, and now the post-millennials, the I generation, Generation Z, again, they're just changing the way we communicate and do things, and it saddens me to even fathom what's going to happen in the next generation. And once the baby boomers, which was a generation before me, and my generation, Gen X, when we're all gone, when it's all said and done about us, the millennials are going to be the ones that are pretty much running the world. Wow. I hope for the best. I hope something happens, some shift happens where, people learn how to better balance their online world and their in-person real life world. Nothing wrong with being online, nothing wrong with meeting people online. But if you're going to meet people online, and you want an actual relationship, why don't you get to know them and then say, hey, why don't we meet up in person, right? Why don't we get to know each other? Let's take this somewhere. I enjoy chatting with you online. We've talked on the phone. We've probably had a little bit of fun online as well, too. Why don't we take the next step, right? Because if you don't ever take it to that next step, then what is the point? And is that necessarily normal, in my opinion, or is that just, a way to cover up your insecurities because you're too insecure to meet people in person, the real way? Is it a cover up? Is that what's really happening? So anyway, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go over first, let me see how long this blog is, because I want to see if I'm going to take a break today or not. Yeah, I'll be taking a break. This is a pretty long blog. All right. So I'm going to get through about half of this, and then I'm going to take a break and finish up the rest after the break. All right, let's switch over to the browser screen. The title of today's blog that I'm going to be critiquing, and I got to fix the chat. Hang on a second. That happens sometimes. Hang on a second, Mutt. My apologies. That happens sometimes. It gets frozen from screen to screen. Let me just do a test here. All right, we're good. All right, the title of today's blog is, Do People Use YouTubers to Replace Real Relationships? One more time. Do people use YouTubers to replace real relationships? Whoa, I've seen this one time and time again. This is written by Grant Hillary Brenner, MD, FAPA, from Experimentations. Experimentations, like a mentor, like experimentations, mentations, like mentor. That's great, dude. Pretty cool, unique name, man. Great branding. Great branding. And below the title, it says, New research clarifies the drivers of YouTube overuse. One more time. New research clarifies the drivers of YouTube overuse. This was created on May 20th, 2019, so a little over a year ago. Still very, very recent. Okay, so let's scroll down here. Okay, I don't need to read that quote there. Addiction to personality porn? Oh my God. Are one-sided simulated relationships replacing real relationships? Well, I think they are. And I think a lot of people are replacing real relationships with YouTube relationships or other social media relationships because they're insecure and they don't feel confident within themselves to approach people in the real world or meet people in the real world. Maybe they've sent, people they're talking with online pictures of them when they were in better shape, or pictures of them pictures of them that aren't actually them, right? Catfishing, right? So yeah, are one-sided simulated relationships replacing real relationships? Abso-freaking-lutely. Compensation for something not fully realized, ? More and more people seem to be replacing relationships with real intimate others with interactions on social media. Absolutely. And here's the thing, nothing wrong with talking with people online, having a great conversation and opening up to, people. Nothing wrong with that. But if you don't ever take it anywhere in the real world, I mean, all you both are, in essence, are keyboard warriors, just sitting there looking for some temporary satisfaction, instead of getting out there in the real world and actually being satisfied by being able to touch, smell, and be around someone's actual presence, not their digital presence, right? Is this necessarily a bad trend, or is it perhaps superior to dealing with messy, potentially risky traditional human relations? Well, I think this is what's caused that issue. I think the online world has, changed the way we behave in person because of, what we can get away with online and what we can hide online. Because in reality, when you meet someone, if you're 30 or 60 or 100 pounds overweight compared to the pictures that you sent someone, people are going to see that about you in the real world, right? So I think, when the blog author says, is this necessarily a bad trend, or is it perhaps superior to dealing with messy, potentially risky traditional human relations? I think the online, anonymity, makes it, more risky, and it's changed things more so in the real world because of the way things are online. Again, people are anonymous, and they could be anyone they want to be, and they could send you anyone's pictures they want to send if they don't want to send yours, and lead you to believe that it is them, right? Video-intensive platforms present us with a massively diverse array of YouTubers, officially called creators. Yes, I'm a creator as well. I'm a YouTuber, absolutely. Religious overtones, anyone? Oh yeah, absolutely, man. It is hard to tell fact from fiction, so real and engaging are these simulators of human experience for one able to become immersed in the fantasies they conjure up. Yeah. Again, you can come out here on YouTube and you could do whatever you want to do. You could be whoever you want to be as long as you follow, the guidelines. And a lot of people come out here on YouTube not even to create, not even to be a real creator. They'll start a channel, they'll upload videos, but they're just doing it to satisfy themselves in other ways. They're missing something in the real world, so they come on YouTube as their social outlet because they don't have one in the real world, or they don't know how to create one in the real world, or they don't feel confident or secure enough to be able to create one in the real world. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. Again, I think the online world has more so challenged the millennials and post-millennials by making it too easy for them to do things online, to the point of where they never learn to do things in person. For the most part, I'm not saying all of them are like that, but a lot of them are. A lot of them definitely are. The trend is toward greater self-disclosure, and highly personal revelations are powerful in creating a sense of real connection with virtual partners. Yeah, I mean, look, I've talked with people online in the past. I mean, I don't do that anymore because once online dating came out and people could put dating profiles up, you just message people online and you connect with them. And if they respond to you and you respond to them back and you want to find out if they're real, you say, hey, what's your number? Let's talk off the system. Let me hear your voice, and then you're going to know, right? But there are people that use social media in lieu of online dating sites like Match.com, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, because, again, it's an easier way for them to hide and to satisfy that need of wanting to bond with somebody while remaining anonymous, or while leading that person to believe whoever they, want you to believe they are, right? Similar to robotic partners, substitutive relationships with pseudo-personalities meet attachment needs while potentially rewarding insecure attachments. Right. So what the blog author is saying there is that it may make you feel good in one aspect, of connecting with someone online, having someone to talk with, right, throughout your days, right? Okay. But in reality, all you're doing is you're trying to cover up an insecurity of not being able to meet people in person, which is what you really want. So the internet is more so masking that insecurity. For dismissive attachment style, not needing actual people works great. And for anxious attachment, knowing that what you want is going to be there 24/7 is a huge relief. Well, I've talked about, these attachment styles in the past. I'm not going to get into that today. Maybe I'll do some more streams or videos on that down the road. But yeah, more people that have an anxious attachment style that just have to have someone that they're always talking to at any point, any given day, and they're not okay being alone at times. These are the types of people that are going to more so go online because they'll be able to more easily fulfill that void. So that's why people do that. It's pretty sad, but until you snap out of that rut and you realize that you're a good person and you start loving yourself and you go out there and just be happy and attract people to hang out with in the real world, it's never going to change. How you see yourself is how others are going to see you. And that goes for both online and offline. All right. Given that there are over 5 billion YouTube videos up and watched daily, with 50 million content developers and an average session length of 40 minutes, understanding how YouTube works psychologically for better or for worse is a smart move, right? Like, that's a staggering stat right there. People on average spend at least 40 minutes a day consuming YouTube content. That is huge. Why do you think there are so many advertisers advertising on YouTube? Why do you think YouTube and Google are so successful with the YouTube platform? It's just amazing. It's amazing. And there are over 2 billion people on YouTube. So for people that are looking to connect and have a place to become their social outlet, YouTube is the place for that. Everyone who's anyone is out there, right? There are many different types of personality types also as well. There's a great chance that more than likely you're going to find someone in a similar situation as you, and you're going to be able to relate to them, and then you'll connect, right? That's just how it works. Then there's the bad side of YouTube too, and if I get a chance, I'll mention that at some point. I've talked about it in the past. YouTube is one of the easiest platforms to troll people on because of the way the system has been created through, the Google platform and Google accounts. It's just so easy to create so many Google accounts. And ever since YouTube started, their live stream aspect about 4 or 5 years ago, it's very, very easy for people to get trolled and harassed on this platform. So that's another aspect you have to deal with. And it's insane because a lot of the people that do the trolling are these same types of people that I'm talking about. These are such insecure people, and they're so introverted more than likely, and they're insecure, and they lack self-confidence. So they need to do things like this to make themselves feel better and to occupy their time. And YouTube just makes it easy for them to do it based on the way the platform was created. Let me read this part, then I'll check out the chat. Neuroscience of social media. The neuroscience of social media is still in its infancy. Research has shown, for example, that image-based social media blunts feelings of loneliness and isolation. Let me read that one more time. Research has shown, for example, that image-based social media blunts feelings of loneliness and isolation. That's why people come to YouTube, because YouTube is video. And like right now, I'm actually broadcasting live, so people can come here on my channel and interact with me live, and that'll keep them occupied, and I'll answer their questions, and it's an engaging situation. For, social media sites that are just image-based or text-based, people are not going to have that same type of connection as they do with video. Like, I'm looking at you right in the eyes right now, right? I'm in 1080p HD. Look at me. Look at my eyes. You see them? Right? It is much easier, which is what I'm trying to say, to connect emotionally with someone through audio and video than just having a photo or text, right? It almost feels like you're there. In addition, different social media platforms can meet different needs. Yeah, no, of course. Facebook has its purpose. It's a great way to stay connected with friends and family, and even, people that people that you meet from the business arena world. You have LinkedIn, which is more for business. You have Twitter, which helps share quick information about anything and everything, right? I use Twitter to share my YouTube links and other, blog articles that I feel are worthy for my audience to see. So yeah, different social media platforms can meet different needs. Research suggests that Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter serve overlapping. They kind of do. I think out of all three of them, Twitter is the best. But Instagram and I think Snapchat is either going out of business or is changing. I have not kept up with Snapchat for a while. I was never really into Snapchat. But Instagram is another good place. They're still around, and that's another good place to share information and content. Serve overlapping but different social and emotional functions. They do. It is more text and image based. YouTube is video based, which makes a world of difference. With the primary psychological factors being comparison with other people, right? Okay. I've got a bigger butt than you, or a nicer butt than you, or bigger boobs than you, or, my hair is nicer than yours, or I'm taller than you. It's just, yeah, it's funny what these men and women are now doing online. You got these women that are, hanging over, wearing a low-cut shirt, showing a little cleavage, or they're doing the side angle shot with their butt sticking out. Men are taking their shirts off. Anyone that does that, in my opinion, is a highly insecure person just looking for attention. And, the funny thing is you got, guys and gals out there that thumb up those pictures more than anything. It's pretty pathetic, in my opinion. What's that going to do for you? It's online. You can't touch that person. You can't hug them or hold them or kiss them, right? And in many cases, you can't even talk with them, right? Maybe you can put a comment, right? But how much more different is that than being in person with someone like that? Number 2, feelings of trust and bonding. Yeah, you can't gather that really from online. Maybe a little bit. You can get a good feel if you communicate, if you chat with someone through a chat messenger program. Maybe if you take the phone, you can kind of feel a little bit more about that. But at some point, if you really want to see if, the feelings of trust and bonding are there, you got to meet in person and see how it feels in person, right? Being around, that person, right? Or that group of people. And number 3, finding groups with attitudes and interests aligned with one's own. And on YouTube, you can find many groups. I mean, there are groups of positive people. There are groups of negative people. There are trolls. There are haters. There are, DIY, do-it-yourself channels. There are how-to channels. There are coaches out there like myself. There's dating information. I mean, there's a little bit of everything. There's a lot of everything, actually. So that's why YouTube is a place where a lot of these people conglomerate. People conglomerate here because, it's a way to satisfy, whatever it is that you're looking for through audio and video. And when you have audio and video, you can see someone's eyes in the camera or on the screen. While you hear their voice, you have a better chance of emotionally bonding with them through audio and video than just, audio itself or text or just an image. So yeah, no, so far so good. Let me check out the chat here real quick. Let's see what's going on. All right, give me just 1 second here. Okay. So Mutt. Okay. more narcissistic people on average post more photos of themselves. Absolutely. And they're insecure as well, too. It's an insecurity when you're posting more photos of yourself than other things, or photos of you being with other people. It's a big insecurity. You're looking for attention. You're looking for validation from the online digital world, social media. So more narcissistic people on average post more photos of themselves, put more out on social media, and are self-promotional with a tendency to portray themselves grandly rather than exhibit true leadership. Right. They're overcompensating. That's a big, huge word. A lot of people online are overcompensating, who they really are, to try to cover up the insecurities they have, which is what I'm trying to say. That would more so be apparent when you would be around them in person. People can more so do a better job of hiding insecurities when they're hiding behind a computer, right? Behind a screen, or in front of a screen, right? All right. While hard science on how social media affects the brain is limited, early neuroimaging work suggests that too much excessive social media use, or ESMU, is associated with damaged connections between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. I can agree with that. That makes sense. And I've heard about studies like that. As seen in the main tract between them, the corpus callosum. So yeah, like the more you indulge yourself in social media and make it your entire life, and you're addicted to it, okay, it's going to start to become your normal. It's going to affect how you think, how your, left and right hemispheres of the brain function, like the blog author says. That makes plenty of sense right there. It really does. Very interesting. It makes sense. Oops. There we go. It makes sense to hypothesize that people who are disconnected from flesh and blood others would find many emotional and biological needs being met by videos that are designed to draw people in, right? You get that hook in the beginning, right? And if you suck these people in emotionally, you have a greater chance of them watching most, if not all, your video, and then basically getting them to believe whatever you want to believe, right? Or buy whatever you're selling, or anything like that, right? You have a lot of people in the online world that are not doing things for the right reasons, but they know how to prey on people's emotions. Prey, P-R-E-Y, like predators. They prey on people's emotions, especially men preying on women's emotions. You got to be real careful. There are a lot of master manipulators out there like that, which address individualized topics resonant with viewers, or maybe it means like resonate with viewers, particular emotional needs, right? People have emotional needs, and there are people out there that know how to, brainwash and manipulate people's emotions. Like I mentioned a second ago, especially men brainwashing and manipulating women's emotions to get what they want, or to get control, right? And personal struggles, which deliver new content on a daily basis, avoiding boredom and repetition. Well, that's why a lot of these people, come to the online world. They lack, security. They're insecure people. They lack self-confidence. And, in order to cure their boredom and repetition, they come out here and they find different people to either hang out with, or in some cases attack people and stir the pot up. It's just what some people do to entertain themselves, because they're miserable with their life in the real world, and they come out here and they project that out to everyone. And then if they end up finding a group of people that are just like them, and all these people conglomerate together, it makes matters even worse, because now you have what's called a hate group, right? You have a group of insecure, immature people hanging out on a platform like YouTube, and in many cases, these people, what all they do is they come out here and try to disrupt the actual purpose of the platform. It's just pretty pathetic, in my opinion. It's really pathetic. They present a manicured version of a relationship free from many of the emotional risks of real relationships. Well, again, it all boils down to insecurity for me, but I understand, there are emotional risks involved in any relationship you get into, right? But I honestly don't even think it's about the emotional risk. I think it's more about the insecurities people have more so nowadays because they're being raised differently, right? So in order to, be satisfied and have some kind of, human connection, even if it's digitally, these people can hide who they really are. Whereas in the real world, someone that's 100 pounds overweight might not have the confidence to talk to a sexy, fit woman, right? In the real world, maybe a sexy, fit woman wouldn't talk to a 100-pound overweight type of guy. Who knows, right? But online, you could be whoever you want to be. And when you're chatting, it's all about words. When you're trading pictures, it's all about, the pictures you decide to send, whether they're actually yours or someone you're saying is you when it's not, right? To give the other side, the feeling they want to feel, right? It's just not real in most cases. All right, let me see here. Let me see how much longer we have. Oh yeah, there's still quite a ways to go. I'm going to read a few more paragraphs and I'm going to step away and take a break. And we are at 41 minutes now. We're going to take a break in about 5 minutes or so. Symptomacy. Wow, nice made up word there, Doc. Symptomacy. Simulated intimacy. Yeah, that's what these people do. They simulate intimacy because they're too insecure and lack self-confidence to have that in person. When using very personal videos, many of which provide guidance, closeness, and warmth, ASMR is an especially good example with auditory stimulation and intensely personal presence. Do people who experience a deep sense of connection have elevated levels of reward activity in the brain, a stronger so-called dopamine hit, or changes in the attachment biology reflected in oxytocin, the bonding hormone? It would be surprising because oxytocin is implicated in social anxiety, genetics, and possibly therapeutics. I know there are a lot of people that abuse oxytocin that are out here on YouTube. We call it Oxy for short. I've never done it and I don't use it. But yeah, I guess, these are just people that are very socially anxious and they need to do these drugs in order to be able to do what they do in order to live every day, I guess. Now, if your doctor prescribes these drugs to you, that's one thing, but a lot of people abuse these drugs and they get them, when their prescription runs out, they find other ways through the black market to continue getting these drugs. They get addicted to them, right? And if you don't think that changes who they are and affects their behavior, well, then I don't know where you've been. I've seen this happen time and time again throughout many communities on YouTube, people that abuse these types of drugs, and they abuse alcohol at the same time. They mix both together. I've seen so many YouTubers go live while they're on drugs or they're drunk or a combination of both. And it's just something I really wish I didn't have to see out here. All right. While such hypothetical changes could meet immediate needs, paralleling the argument with pornography, they may undermine the capacity to approach real people. Yeah, they're insecure people. That's why they come out here. That's why these types of people come out here on YouTube, because they still crave the interaction with people, okay? But they're too insecure and don't love themselves and lack self-confidence to the point of where, in person, they don't have the courage to even approach people or talk with people. In most cases. with our messy, unpredictable relationships. At best, online relations can supplement emotional and psychological needs, even help people, as well-made coaching and educational videos and computerized psychotherapy show. Okay. I've done a lot of those types of videos myself as a coach, and I've seen many of them. Yeah, and you're right. You're absolutely right. On the flip side, overuse of online connection becomes a kind of personality porn. It does. You get addicted to it. I mean, I remember when I was younger, I got addicted to talking with people online. There were times where I would, be in my younger days, I was locked up in my room, when I was, living at home in my younger days. And, so at times, my mother or father would come knock on my door on my room, and, they would say, "What are you doing? So you never come out anymore. You never hang out. You never do this." Yeah, you can get addicted to it. Nothing wrong with, having some time online and meeting people online, making connections, but you gotta learn how to balance it between your online and your offline life. You've got to be a well-balanced person. On the flip side, overuse of online connection. Oh, I already read that. Becomes a kind of personality porn, replacing healthy relationships, reinforcing dysfunctional relationships, and causing detrimental psychobiological changes. Right. So this type of, overuse, to fill that void of what you're missing offline, overusing online to fill that void that you're missing offline, which is what I'm trying to say, becomes a kind of personality porn. It replaces healthy relationships. It gives you the facade that this is the way things should be. This is normal when it actually isn't. And then it reinforces dysfunctional relationships. Okay. If you've tried to put yourself out there in the dating world nowadays, last year or two, it's almost impossible to find someone that you can have a relationship with. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's almost impossible. And a lot of it has to do with what's happening online, especially with our youth, with our millennials and post-millennials, like I've been saying. And causing detrimental psychobiological changes. Detrimental. People are deteriorating because of this, because they're spending way too much time online, way too much time on their smartphones, and they're not disconnecting to enjoy life in the way it was meant to be enjoyed, folks. All of these qualities are close to what a real two-way relationship might offer. Arguably, for many, asymmetrical relationships with YouTubers can be a huge saving grace, therapeutic, and potentially an emotionally and physically safer alternative than actual human beings. Right. A lot of people come out here as their outlet. I keep saying this. People use YouTube as an outlet. Nothing wrong with spending time on YouTube. Nothing wrong with, being a part of a community on YouTube, supporting YouTubers and being a part of their community or clan or whatever they want to call it. But if it gets to the point where it consumes your entire life, then there's an issue. So anyway, where did I leave off here? People might, for example, perpetuate abuse or otherwise take advantage of someone vulnerable, whereas this apparently isn't a risk with YouTubers. Well, it isn't, because you're in a virtual digital world, right? Well, I'm getting some messages behind the scenes here. All right, we're good. It's all good. I'll get back to those later. Yeah, I leave my Hangouts open. You never know. Sometimes people want to send you stuff while you're live on the air, and you can just hear it go through the system. It's just the way it goes. All right, so let's start that part again. People might, for example, perpetuate abuse or otherwise take advantage of someone vulnerable. Right. People prey on others' vulnerabilities to make themselves feel better at their expense. It's what they do. At least that's what I've seen happen out here on YouTube. Whereas this apparently isn't a risk with YouTubers. Well, it does kind of happen out here, but you got to remember, this is a digital virtual world. For some people, most people, it may not be a risk. For others, it may be a risk. If you're running a real channel like me, and you're coaching people, and you're looking to create a real audience, hateful type of people or people like this, immature, insecure people are going to be detrimental to what you're doing on YouTube. There are many facets of YouTube. I'll tell you that. There are many sides of YouTube. I think people can more so use YouTube in a better way. But hey, like I've said in the past, I think over half the people on YouTube are on here because they're looking for hateful content. They're looking for one creator to beat down another creator or do some cringy, crazy stuff. There's an audience of people that like that, and my guess on why they like that type of content is because they're insecure and unhappy with themselves, so they want to see other people get destroyed, so that way they can feel better about themselves. It's pretty pathetic, in my opinion. It's really pathetic, and it's against YouTube's terms of service, but it takes forever for these channels to get shut down. And if they get shut down, they come back on their channel and then they keep doing it. Simulated relationships with online personalities, especially when addictive, can forestall growth and development, replacing true intimacy and connection. That's true. So, simulated relationships, these are not real relationships. These are digital, virtual relationships. I'm not saying that the person you're chatting with is not real, but you don't know who that person is, and they don't know who you are. You're just talking to some random stranger, right? But sometimes it can get addictive because it feels so real. It can forestall growth and development, meaning hinder it, right? Replacing true intimacy and connection, right? Which is what we all really want. We all really, truly want intimacy and connection in the real world. But if we're too insecure and if we're too, if we lack self-confidence, which is what I'm trying to say, it doesn't work for us in the real world. The unpredictable, ineffable experience of taking emotional risks to get close to others was something ultimately unnatural and growth preserving. Doc, I think this boils down to one thing. It boils down to insecure people that lack self-confidence and don't love themselves. The key factor to having a happy life, regardless of what comes your way, is loving yourself first and foremost. If you can't or don't love yourself, how are others going to feel happy or comfortable loving you? You only get back what you get. If you put out negativity, you're going to get negativity back. If you're a positive person, yeah, you might get some negativity, especially from people that don't love themselves and don't want to see anyone be happy when they're not. But you're going to get happiness back from, the right people. But if you're 100% negative all the time, that's all you're going to attract. And you're going to repel all the happy people. No happy person wants to be around a negative Nelly or negative Nancy. Come on. So yeah, the unpredictable, ineffable experience of taking emotional risks to get close to others was something ultimately unnatural and growth preventing. All right, folks, we are at 54 minutes. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Let me see how much more do we have here. Yeah, about 8 or 9 paragraphs. We're about halfway through. It's going to be another probably 30 to 40 minutes when I get back. when we get back, we're going to continue with new research on YouTube addiction. Let me switch back to full screen right now. Let me see real quick here. Let me go ahead and cue up some music, and then we'll get the break going. We'll come back and finish things up. Just 1 second, please. Got an itch on my nose, Jesus. Okay, see a couple more. All right, we're all set, folks. I'm going to step away for a quick 5 to 7 or 8 minute break. Like I said, when we return, we're going to continue discussing this very interesting topic. Has YouTube become a replacement for real relationships? Debunking social media friends versus reality. So stick around, folks. We'll be right back. and the collar. Let's fix the collar. Oh, yeah, I feel so good. I'm in the groove. I'm in the groove tonight. Yeah, are you in the groove with me? Are you in the groove with me? Clap with me. Clap, 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 clap with me. Clap, clap with me. Clap, clap with me. Clap, 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 clap with me. Yeah, all right, all right, all right. Oh, man. Oh, man, the end of the weekend is here. It is Sunday, folks. Sunday, 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 Sunday. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli, live here on YouTube. It is Sunday, 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 Sunday. The end of the week is here. The new week is about to start. And let me tell you, folks, I've got another great week planned for all of you here. So stick around, stay tuned, lock it in here to the Grip on Life channel. Please subscribe, bang the bell, select all notifications, and you will not miss a beat because I am here. And I'm not going anywhere. I am here to stay to help each and every one of you get a better grip on your lives. And I say a better grip on your lives because I know you folks are trying the very best. I know each and every one of you wants to be successful, wants to make something out of yourselves. But with my experiences, and I've had a bunch of failures in my life, such as everyone has, I've learned from all of those failures to better myself. And I want to help you folks learn how to deal with those failures, not let those failures get to you. You know, learn from those failures and move forward and accomplish whatever it is that your heart desires. All right, folks, it is 10:47 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. 7:47 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time in my neck of the woods. I'm here in the beautiful, glorious San Francisco Bay Area, and we still have a bunch of fires out here. The fires aren't too terribly close to me. I mean, the closest fire to me is a good 20, 25 miles away, and I do not live in a designated brush zone or a high fire area, so we're not at risk here in my area, for fires, but the smoke travels. And it's really strange, whenever we have a lot of fires, even though the sun is out and it's a warm day, it looks like it's cloudy and overcast, with that smoke traveling across. And it's just very unhealthy. So, if you've ever had to deal with a situation like that, if you're dealing, with a lot of smoke in your area due to a nearby fire, close your windows and use a fan to circulate the air like I do. And, if you have to go out, you definitely want to put on a mask. This is outside of the COVID thing. If you go out and there's a lot of smoke, you don't want to be inhaling all that. It's not healthy. It's not good for your health. So anyway, Mutt Nuts World says, welcome back. Great to be back, Mutt. Thank you for being here. And thank you for doing a fabulous job moderating the chat tonight. All right, let's get right to it because we still have quite a ways to go on this blog. Let's go back to the browser source. All right, new research on YouTube addiction. A recent study digs into how and why people use YouTube to replace relationships with other people. Researchers Debunking and Bergenera from the Psychology Institute of the University Paris Descartes, I can't even pronounce that, some university in France, argue that YouTube is addictive. It is addictive. It's very addictive. I mean, there's so much on YouTube, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, that, you can find out, or you can find just about anything you want to find out here. So it can be very addictive. Following an internet addiction model, providing at-risk users with parasocial relationships that supplant real relationships. Right. So basically, and I love YouTube. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing YouTube. I love this platform. I'm here doing a show on the platform right now. But for some people, YouTube can replace or has, been a replacement of real life relationships. Again, nothing wrong with being on YouTube and connecting with people, but don't let it consume you to the point of where YouTube is the only thing you have going for yourself in your life. And I know that's happened to many people out here. I've seen it happen to many people. It's pretty sad and pathetic, and it's just very, very unhealthy. Use YouTube with moderation. No problem being out here, watching whoever you want to watch, but just don't let it consume you from having an actual life in the real world. When feeling totally authentic, maybe even more real than real, hyper reality. Yeah, hyper reality is a great word. Doing more harm than good. Right. If you don't know how to balance your YouTube usage, it can do more harm to you than good. If you use it for the right reasons, you go out there and you search for how-to videos, how to fix things, how to do this, how to do that. If you're looking for some entertainment here and there, that's great. If you're looking for some, music videos, that's great as well. But if you're looking at it as a replacement of socializing in the real world, and that's your only form of socialization, then you've got some issues. Defining parasocial relationships, they write, YouTubers can be described as publicly overexposed active users who share their personal information and personal interests through video content with the rest of the users. Well, that's what I do, but I'm an actual business looking to help people solve issues like these, not make them worse. The viewers who remain mostly anonymous, right. And some of those anonymous viewers are trolls, notorious trolls. And if you use your real name, even as an actual consumer of content and not a creator, you're at risk of people stalking you, harassing you, and doing crazy things to you. That's just the way it goes. YouTubers engage in self-presentation and, to a certain extent, in self-disclosure in order to build and maintain relationships with their viewers. Right. Well, we have to have an emotionally compelling message. You want to be a successful YouTuber, you have to have an emotionally compelling message, or you have to, fix an issue, solve an issue for someone, entertain someone, or something of that sort. You have to have a reason, for people to watch you. You have to have a value proposition. I mentioned before. What is your value proposition? You should be asking yourself that. Okay. And as a consumer of content, what are you looking to get out of YouTube? And is it healthy or unhealthy? However, these relationships between viewers and YouTubers are not classical social relationships, as they are not reciprocal. No, they're not. At least in most cases, for me, everything I do involves the law of reciprocity. I love to give. Now, do I enjoy getting too? Sometimes I'll get a super chat donation, or, I'll get a member to sponsor the channel, or I'll get an actual sponsor like I have. And speaking of which, I'll get to my sponsor here in just a second. I totally forgot to mention my sponsor. Oh, man. Sorry about that, Trey. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, in many cases, when you're dealing with YouTubers, when you're a consumer of content and you're dealing with a YouTuber, and let's say you're a part of their clan or their group or their channel, they may make you feel like they're going to reciprocate to you, but in essence, many of them just want your money. Seen that happen time and time again. They can be compared to relationships with traditional television, TV characters. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Like a situation comedy, right? Like a sitcom like we used to have in the 80s and 90s. I mean, there's still a few sitcoms nowadays, but they're just not the same as they used to be. They're not. Okay. Let me get to my sponsor here. I totally forgot to mention, folks, for all of your product and service needs from the most trusted sources. Visit www.discovercommunitynetwork.com. That's www.discovercommunitynetwork.com. You can also visit the DCN Internet Radio Network for all of your music and talk radio needs. There are a bunch of internet radio stations you can choose from by going to www.dcninternetradionetwork.com. One more time, that's www.dcninternetradionetwork.com. If you go below the description about a third of the ways down, you'll be able to see those links and click on them to find out more. And if you want to reach out to my sponsor, Troy, who is the CEO, founder, and owner of the Discover Community Network, tell him Coach Eli, Elias, Melas sent you. And if you're going to troll him, he doesn't put up with that. He's just going to forward me the email, and we're just going to laugh at you. That's all. That's how we handle those situations. We just laugh at you and we move on. Not a big deal. All right, let us continue. Give me a second here, please. Okay, let me check out the chat here. Looks like the chat's been kind of quiet. Not bad. All right, excellent. YouTube, they note, is not full-on social networking. Rather than fostering connections among users, YouTube focuses on passively viewed content. Right. Well, for YouTube and Google, they're looking to keep people on the platform as long as possible, because the longer people are on the platform, the more likely they're going to see a bunch of ads, which makes money for YouTube and the creator that has that monetized channel running the ads. People may come across a live stream from a monetized channel with Super Chat enabled, and if they donate money through Super Chat, YouTube and Google gets 30% of that. So the longer you stay on YouTube, the more profitable you are to YouTube. So that's why it says YouTube focuses on passively viewed content. Interactions with content generators, creators like YouTube smartly and dramatically markets, and other users are very limited, mainly trolling, cheerleading, and discussion comment threads about loved and or hated videos. I've said enough about that already. Let me read that again. Interactions with content generators, creators like YouTube smartly and dramatically markets, and other users are very limited, mainly trolling. Don't have to say anything about trolling. I've talked about that one enough. Cheerleading. Yay! And discussion comment threads about loved and or hated videos. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, there are some great channels out there. There are a lot of great YouTubers that engage their audience properly, and they share a lot of constructive feedback. Then there are those hateful, inciting type of YouTubers that have an audience like that, and they're all about attacking people instead of, constructively criticizing any type of content. Again, like I mentioned in a previous stream recently, there's a difference between constructive criticism and attacking someone or attacking people. Deborrelia and colleagues review prior work on YouTube, making the point that YouTube's popularity goes along with increased addictive behaviors by providing high levels of reward to viewers. Well, there's anything and everything out here on YouTube. YouTube provides something that no other platform offers within the realm of social media or even the mainstream media. YouTube is so special and so unique because of the amount of users out here, the capabilities the platform offers to creators with live streaming and live stream chat, and high quality videos at 1080p or even 4K now. I mean, it is very rewarding. I mean, it's an awesome platform as long as you use it properly and you know how to balance your time between being on YouTube and having a life in the real world, right? Using a cognitive behavioral perspective, the authors designed a study to look at key detriments of YouTube addiction, a laudable and timely first step for designing effective prevention and intervention targeting YouTube addiction. Again, YouTube's very, very addictive. It is extremely addictive. You got to learn how to balance it. I keep saying that time and time again. Focusing on the non-biological aspects of addiction. Okay, let's see what they say here. They borrow from the internet addiction literature to study YouTube use. Nothing there are distal and proximal factors that influence thinking, decision-making, and behavior. Distal causes include already having a problem before even using YouTube. Right. Well, a lot of people come on YouTube because they're trying to solve a problem. Okay. So they're trying to solve a problem, whether it's how to fix a laptop. They're looking for product reviews before they make a purchase. They're looking for entertainment. But some people are looking to solve another problem, their social problem, because they're socially awkward. Or they're socially insecure, or they're insecure in general, or they lack, self-respect, and they just don't love themselves. So they're looking to come out here to solve that issue. And what happens? They come across similar people that are the same, and then they feel like they have a network of people that are helping them solve an issue, when in reality, the issue is only getting worse because you're hanging around with people that have the same issue. People that have the same issue are not going to be able to help you solve that issue. Okay? You want to solve that issue, you got to talk with people that understand the issue, can help you with it, like I do. Right? And what I would do is I would help you get a better balance on your, social media usage and your personal life. That's the first thing I would do. At least I would attempt to do that. So like I said, distal causes include already having a problem before even using YouTube, such as suffering from social anxiety, which can be severe enough to constitute a clinical condition associated with mental torment, painful social interactions, avoidance of social interactions, and significant dysfunction. A lot of people have that. They have that issue. They're just either shy, or they're insecure, or they lack self-confidence or self-respect, right? And so they're too afraid to put themselves out there in the real world, so they're on their computer all day trying to satisfy their need for that on YouTube. It's not healthy. It's not. The proximal causes include the user experience, what it feels like, and how it rewards behavior. The behavior in this case is watching more parasocial videos. Oh boy. So let's take an issue and show people videos that are going to make them feel worse than they already do, right? Or at least lead them to believe that their issue is going to be solved, right? Wow. Their study was conducted via an online survey polling users of Facebook and Reddit groups about their YouTube use to identify the groups most likely to also watch a lot of YouTube. Okay. The research team contacted over 1,000 online groups covering a range of related interests, ending up with complete responses from a total of 932 respondents. Measurement tools included the Internet Addiction Test. Ooh, I got to check that out. The Internet Addiction Test. I want to look for that test once I go off the air, and I'm going to take that test. Maybe I'll do that test on the air one of these days and see if I'm addicted to the internet. I don't think I am. I know how to balance it. Modified to reference YouTube only, the widely accepted Leibowitz social anxiety scale, the parasocial interaction scale, originally used to look at TV viewing of news personalities, attachment style using the relationship questionnaire, which asks participants to identify from among 4 vignettes which attachment style best matches their own, and measures of social isolation, ooh, including the UCLA loneliness scale. Ooh, the UCLA loneliness scale. That's interesting. There's a lot I need to research here once I'm done with this show. This is pretty interesting. The multidimensional scale of perceived support. Right. So these people come out here for what they feel they're getting is for what they feel like they're getting is perceived support. They feel they're getting it, but it's only perceived support. It's not actual support. It's temporary satisfaction. It's temporary. And behavioral estimates of whether people are living at home or not, are in a relationship or not, or meet with friends regularly or not, along with a demographic measure, or along with demographic measures like age, ethnicity, educational, and socioeconomic background, and YouTube use. That was quite long there. Okay, let me see how much longer we have here. Oh, we're almost done. We're getting there. Okay, nearly 2/3 of the respondents were women with an average age of a little bit over 21 years old. Okay, so the average age 21. We're looking at Gen Zers, the beginning of the Gen Z generation, post-millennial, post-Gen Y millennial generation, Gen Z, I generation. You know, the latest generation right now. Nearly 51% reported watching YouTube videos at least 4 hours in the prior week, with less than 20% watching less than an hour. Wow, that's staggering. That is absolutely staggering. According to the addiction rating scale, 17.7% had at least a mild YouTube addiction, and 1% had a more severe use problem. I wonder where I fit into that scale. I got to take that test. That's pretty interesting. Social anxiety and parasocial relationships use was strongly correlated with YouTube addiction. Ooh, social anxiety, absolutely. If you have social anxiety, you have to fulfill the need for socializing somewhere. So where are you going to go? You're going to go to YouTube because it's your safe space. You can also be anonymous. You can be anyone you want to be. And no one's going to criticize you because they don't really know who you are. They just know you're somebody behind some, fake user account or a real user account that doesn't use your real name, right? Parasocial relationships themselves were correlated with greater social anxiety, anxious and avoidant attachment, okay, and loneliness, supporting the idea that people may make up for what is lacking in other areas with YouTube. Yeah, that's what they do out here. They make up for other areas regarding what's lacking through YouTube. And YouTube knows that. And they know that because of that, and because there are people out there like this, they're going to be on the platform longer, watching videos, watching ads, paying super chats, etc. It's very profitable. These people, in my opinion, these people shouldn't even be on YouTube. They're detrimental to YouTube, but to YouTube, they're consumers that are watching content. Excuse me, give me a second. I got to clear my throat. Like I said, to YouTube, these people are consumers of content, making them money. And they're going to be on the platform longer than anyone because they're desperately looking to fill the voids that the real world's not giving them. All right, let me make sure I turned on my microphone. Okay, I'm good. All right. Nothing happening in the chat. That's good. That is great. Okay, so lacking in other areas with YouTube use, placing them at risk for addictive behaviors. Yes, that's right. Placing them at risk for addictive behaviors because these people feel that YouTube is solving their problem of social anxiety, right? Statistical analysis showed that social anxiety not only is associated with, but also predicts parasocial relationships, a potentially casual relationship. Subtle and important, they also found a moderation effect for social anxiety on both parasocial relationships and YouTube addiction. Greater and greater levels of social anxiety deepen the need for parasocial relationships, significantly increasing the risk of addiction. Yeah. So greater and greater levels of social anxiety deepen the need for parasocial relationships. Right. So the more and more people have social anxiety, they're going to be looking for an outlet where they can be social in a way that makes them feel comfortable. YouTube is a gold mine for them, significantly increasing the risk of addiction. Buyer beware, people with social anxiety disorder are at great risk of engaging in lopsided relationships with personality-rich YouTube creators in lieu of pursuing potentially more fulfilling and balanced relationships with real people in real life. Well, maybe they're coming out here to build up their confidence, to become a better person, and that way they can go out in the real world and make something out of themselves and be able to socialize more. You see, I don't have a problem if someone understands that and is looking to better themselves. But a lot of people that come out here in this position are just looking to further rot. They're looking to find other people that are similar. And when they find those people, they feel like they've made a new great friend and they're getting somewhere. But in essence, they're just dwelling or, draining each other's sorrows together. That's all they're doing. It's pretty pathetic. And it's sad until they break that chain and, reach out for real help from someone like myself. They're not going to get anywhere. While there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube, and there's a lot of great stuff on YouTube, and a role to play for virtual parasocial relationships as a part of a broader, more complete social context, excessive YouTube parasocial activity can lead to destructive addictions. It can, and it has. I've seen it happen time and time again. It happens out here all the freaking time. And it makes it more difficult for people like myself that want to run a real good YouTube channel to have to deal with people like this, because when these people come across you, they'll end up trolling you. They'll end up making videos on you. I mean, there's a whole mess of things these people do. I've talked about this many times in the past. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I think you know what I'm talking about. If you've been on YouTube for a little while, you know how it works. You know how YouTube is. Social anxiety often makes it hard to get to social functions and makes it easy to avoid getting to know people, and more difficult to steer clear of social and professional engagement, leading to reduced success and satisfaction. Right. So social anxiety is an issue that needs to be handled. And if you have social anxiety, you definitely need to see a psychologist, in my opinion. Now, I can help you to a certain extent, right? We can have a conversation and I can see if maybe, I can motivate you and help you feel better about yourself with some motivational stuff and some positivity. But if that doesn't do it for you, if it's more of a psychological type of issue deep within, you need to see a psychologist and really get that help, or it's never going to change. And you might even need some medication temporarily or permanently. You never know. You got to get diagnosed. You got to get checked out. Most people, feel there's nothing wrong. So when people say, go get checked out, they don't listen. It's part of the problem right there. Social anxiety is often associated with negative self-image and self-talk. Right. Leading people with social anxiety to imagine that others are thinking terrible things about them. Right. These are the people that don't trust anyone because of what they've been through in the past. They don't realize that, when people share their opinion about you, they're only projecting a reflection of who they are. If you're going to allow other people to project a reflection of who they are onto you by saying, these bad things about you, that's part of the problem. You got to learn to ignore people like that. That's part of the thing. I mean, I had to learn that the hard way growing up. You can't always take what people say at face value. Sometimes people are giving you constructive criticism, but many times it's not constructive criticism. It is an attack. It is a projection of their own insecurities. It's the bottom line. Laughing at them when they are laughing about something completely unrelated and judging them harshly when they probably aren't thinking about them at all. Let me see, how much further are we? Oh yeah, we got a few more paragraphs and we're done. Folks, get your questions in now in the chat if you have any. We're going to be wrapping this up in about 5 to 10 minutes. Because of these and other symptoms, parasocial relationships are appealing. Yeah, because they give you a temporary sense of, what you couldn't find in the real world. It's giving you a temporary sense that, people care about you and they like you, solely on the fact that they're feeling similar about themselves in the real world as you are. But once these people, realize that it's just a temporary thing, and that hanging around with other people in the same situation isn't going to get you anywhere, they're going to figure it out, and then they're not going to be your friend anymore. A lot of these people are dependent on these relationships of similar, people with social anxiety. You can curate the relationship experience. You pick people who are unrelentingly positive and, edited in any sense of the world, who are giving messages won't be troubling, and with whom you can identify and ultimately feel far safer than with people in real life who can be unpredictable. This guy has a lot of run-on sentences, and it's just hard to read this. But anyway, that's his style, no big deal. So you pick people who are unrelentingly positive, and in any sense of the word, who are giving messages won't be troubling. Right, they're just telling you what you want to hear. And with whom you can identify and ultimately feel far safer than with people in real life. Right, I've been saying that all along. They're giving you a false sense of a friendship or satisfaction regarding what you're looking for. And the truth of the matter is they're in the same position you're in. They're not really helping you. They're temporarily putting a Band-Aid on the issue. And then eventually that Band-Aid will get ripped off and the scar will be there and it'll be worse. Who can be unpredictable. While real relationships can feel too dangerous, parasocial relationships are safe, too safe. I wouldn't go as far and say they're too safe. They're temporary. It's like putting a Band-Aid on the issue. It's not correcting the underlying issue. It's not. Especially if social anxiety is connected with developmental trauma, as it often is. In addition to the core symptoms of social anxiety, people with trauma often have difficulty telling who is a good match for them from people who may take advantage. I've been dealing with that with people a lot lately. Like, that's how this whole world has become, and we have social media to thank for that. Social media has definitely changed the way that we communicate with people. Just unbelievable. And social media is a great invention. If you use it the right way, it's great. But if you allow it to consume your life and you make it and you make your life all about social media, do you really have a life? Or is social media your life? Is your smartphone your life? Are you able to disconnect to be able to have a life? Use social media to meet people and make plans, etc. But then when you get out there in the real world, you don't have to be on your phone the whole entire time. You can disconnect. Go and enjoy your life. Go and enjoy this amazing, beautiful world we're all so fortunate to be alive in. Or turn out to be very different from what they thought. This makes it harder than ever to develop the in-the-flesh relationships that are safe and not too safe. Yeah. It doesn't allow you to distinguish. It doesn't teach you to recognize who's more than likely a good person in the real world and who's not. And when people have given people chances, when people like this have given people chances in the past, people that are socially anxious, and they've been screwed over once or twice, they automatically assume everyone else can do the same thing to them, right? And so then they withdraw. then they run online to fill that void. Oh, yeah. Anything popular is going to be rewarding with only a subset of people, for most of them developing a mental illness, at least until the brain hackers and advertising psychologists get the special sauce just right so we are all hooked. I look forward to seeing that when that happens, Doc. Would that fix the entire issue of social anxiety? Would that fix the issue of people coming out here on YouTube and using it as an outlet to troll people and to attack other people just because they don't love themselves, and they'll do whatever it takes to make themselves feel better? I look forward to that day. But as almost 20% of people in this sample have a mild YouTube addiction, and 1% a more severe problem, a more severe problem for 1%, that means that potentially millions and millions of people are at risk and could respond to interventions to interrupt the connections, for example, between social anxiety and parasocial relationships. Well, parasocial relationships are being used to try to mask social anxiety. I see so many people on this platform, and I love this platform, YouTube. I love being here. I see so many people on this platform that are on here for the reasons this blog is stating. It's really sad how they behave, too. These are grown-ass people. People in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Wow. While the grim specter of cell phone zombies has already arrived, well, the smartphones, right? As we walk around transfixed by our screens, the smartphone, right? Obvious to external reality, full augmented reality AR has not. AR could enhance, possibly transform human experience without destroying it the way the digital addictions do. But caution is needed given how powerful these tools are. The genie can easily get out of the bottle. That's right, the genie can easily get out of the bottle. All right, last paragraph here. Until we develop better technologies, well, we're pretty technologically advanced, Doc. I mean, I don't know how much better it can get, but it keeps getting better, I guess. And 5G is now almost pretty much done rolling out. AT&T has launched actual nationwide 5G, not even 5G. They used to call it 5G enhanced, which was a 4G LTE enhanced version of that aspect. Now they got real 5G out there, and when I get my new iPhone, which is not going to be released until later on this year, a few months from now, the iPhone 12, it's going to have 5G on it. And I'm going to be like, wow, how much more faster do we need our mobile phones to get than 4G LTE? 4G LTE was pretty fast. Now we're going to get gigabit speeds on our cell phones. Like, I got gigabit finally in my place, 1,000 up, 1,000 down. Now we're going to have cell phones that can upload and download at a gigabit per second. Holy Jesus Christ. How much more information can we take in one day than we're already taking in? Until we develop better technologies, understanding digital health risks and benefits, and only if we engineer healthy interdependence with technology, the risk of misuse and addiction will continue to worsen. Of course it will. It keeps getting worse every day. I've been one coming out here trying to help people more so balance this. But I'm just one person, right? I'm going to do what I can do. Until more and more people start to advocate for a better balance between the digital world and outside the digital world, you're never going to see a change. It's just going to keep getting worse. Especially as big data and machine learning hack consumer behavior. Of course, like the artificial intelligence on YouTube and Google, right? We are going to lose more and more control over our own decisions, we already have, while maintaining an illusion of autonomy and agency. In principle, it is up to us whether we become healthy cyborgs, symbiotic with AI, artificial intelligence, like I was saying a second ago, and biotechnological arguments or unresisting host to pernicious parasites. Let me go back to full screen here and just give a very brief final statement before we get out of here. We've been on for an hour and 44 minutes. Thank you to those that are still here. Give me just a second here. Bottom line, folks, is this. Each one of us is an individual. Each one of us makes decisions each and every day for ourselves, how we treat others. We also decide how we respond to others or ignore others. It's up to each and every one of you as an individual to decide how you want to live your life. Do you want to live your life realistically in the real world? Do you want a real romantic, loving, intimate relationship? Or do you want to be a social outcast? Do you want to withdraw, come online, and have a digital fantasy relationship with somebody that you don't even know? They don't know you. And even if you've exchanged pictures, how do you know it's really them? How do they know it's really you? Just think about that. And that's how I'm going to wrap up this show here today. Mutt World says, this has been a very interesting blog. Well, I'm glad you got some value from it, Mutt. I appreciate you being here. And thank you for moderating the chat here tonight. God bless you. God bless all my moderators and every one of you that believes in God. And lots of love and bless you to all of you, regardless of who you are. I'm going to keep on coming back, and I'm going to keep on pushing forward to try to help each and every one of you get a better grip or get the best possible grip on your lives possible. All right, with that being said, have yourselves a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. The new week starts tomorrow. Be ready for it. Take care. Bye-bye. We're out. We're out. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out. YouTube. YouTube. YouTube.